I think I became a footballer in the first place. I always say that I never really made a conscious decision to get into football. I just felt like from the age of kind of walking, age 2, 3, I always had a football at my feet. My biggest influence was probably David Beckham, not just for what he did on the pitch, but also kind of the influences he had off the pitch. I thought he was a great role model. I remember going to a game when I was younger and he'd stand there and sign every autograph and speak to all the kids, and that's something that I try and pride myself on, because I think it's good that we do well on the pitch, but then we have kind of a role to promote the game off the pitch as well. So
I was always a very sporting kid growing up. I did a lot of gymnastics, quite a good level. Then I did some netball and some athletics. I went to university down in Chichester to become a PE teacher. And as part of my first year lectures, I had rugby. And I just really enjoyed it from the first minute I tried it. I just really enjoyed the kind of physicality of it and the ability to sort of run around people and the competitiveness. So from then I just got into rugby. I played rugby for my uni. I then went up to play rugby for Richmond up in London. And I then got selected to go to England students trials, and I played for them for a few seasons and then got into the first team.
I think the scouting system when I was younger, it was quite rare really. I remember we were probably one of the first crop of players that attended a talent ID camp, which was where you would go with girls in your region and then you could get picked up for England. So I think that was kind of the first of that happening, which was quite lucky for me. I think signing for as a professional for me, age 26, it seemed like it took forever for that to happen. I've always had kind of good physical attributes, but I knew that the technical side of my game had to improve, and that was only going to improve with being on the ball every day, and that's kind of the opportunity that full-time professional football has given me. When I used to turn up at them soccer camps and I'd be the only girl, it was it took a while for us to get a bit of confidence. And I know now when I do the girls only ones, a lot of the parents say, oh, she seems so much more confident, she's really come out of her shell and she's really enjoying it. So I think the aim for me will be once I finish playing, which hopefully is a few years yet, that I can kind of carry on them soccer camps and take them around England and even maybe abroad as well. I used to go on a soccer camp, there'd be 50 boys and me. I can do soccer camps now and get 50 girls showing up, so that shows how much it's changed in such a short space of time, and I'm excited for where it can go.
Rugby has grown so much over the last few years. We had our World Cup in England 2010, and even though we lost in the final, I think that was a real turning point. A lot of people could come and watch rugby and watch women's rugby for the first time and see that actually elite women's rugby at an international level is actually a really good game to watch. I think women's rugby is different to men's rugby. Obviously the rules and everything are exactly the same, but actually the way the game is played is different, so you don't need to be the same size in a women's game as you would in a men's game. I don't think physical strength separates it at all. I think the physical makeup of the male and female body and the ability to put on the muscle, it's just completely different. You know, men and women's bodies are made different, therefore you have to adapt the game to work to your strengths and weaknesses.
When people ask if the men and women train together, then the answer is no, but I have seen where, I think Liverpool did recently, where they had the women's team there and they joined in certain aspects of the training, which was good to promote the sport, but I'd be lying if I said that we do actual training sessions together. In terms of looking at women's sport as a whole, I think it's definitely been on the TV more. Like I sat and watched the England women's cricket the other day because it was on telly, whereas I probably wouldn't have even known that was happening. So what's good for us is when we come to places like St George's Park, we sometimes get the England netball team coming in and we can kind of speak to them about certain things, because there's lots of crossovers in women's sport that something can help them win something in their environment and we can take that into ours. So I think you're definitely seeing a lot more women's sport on TV, on social media, and that's because they're doing well, and with success comes promotion, I suppose.
I think it's massively helped that Sky have got on board the last couple of years, and now you can actually watch all the England women's games on Sky, and that's both sort of rugby and netball, and the football's been shown on BBC, so I think the more we can get on telly, a lot better.
I think the promotional side of it has got better. I think it is going in the right direction, and we need to appreciate how far it has come over the years. I think one thing for me is we can't just promote the big tournaments, we need to sustain that interest. And I think if we can kind of just make sure that the games are there to be watched, then it means that everybody will have that opportunity to watch and then maybe get an interest from a young age to be a female footballer.
The more success that we have, just is we're going to want people to then have role models and want to be like them in the future. If you think about sort of when we had the Olympics over here in 2012, that was a massive boost for women's sport. The likes of Jessica Ennis really encouraged, little girls to want to be there, having their national anthem sung with a medal around their neck. And anything we can have like that that's going to encourage girls to get into sport is fantastic.
I think how we're going to improve the broader appeal is just kind of trying to sustain that interest, especially after tournament. The England women's team have brought out their own kit, and it's something that's very unique to them, and it's about making them small strides forward all the time. So I think we've just got to keep doing what we're doing, keep making it as professional as possible. I think with success comes kind of broader appeal.
From the 2014 World Cup, from then on, there'd always been a really big push to try and get us professional. If we were going to take that next step and continually beat the likes of New Zealand and Australia and France and really get it moving forward, I also think that the Sevens game turning professional because of the Olympics. I think they saw the impact you could have of putting the money into sport and having the girls full time. Hopefully, it will be fully professional for more people than it is now. And it will be available that people can be full-time and live comfortably on the wages that they're getting and similar income to the men. And I think we're only going to get that by getting the media coverage and getting the people to come to the stadiums. The more sort of revenue you can get in, then the more money the girls will be able to get paid. I think once we can get full paid clubs as well, then it will just be no stopping. I think that the women's rugby will then really increase.
I think it's grown all the time, and for me, I'm excited to see where it can go. There's been so much change in, say, 15, 20 years that I think if you go kind of look at that progression again, I'm really excited about where our sport could be in that time.